Something a little bit different coming up on the First Call on Channel 62 every Friday. We've got a new punting specialist from Australia, Daniel O'Sullivan. He joins us on the line. Dan, you're going to be taking us through the next portion of our First Call segments with our Australian form. Firstly, hello to you, and can you give us a little bit of a background as to what you do and what you're going to do for us?
Oh, yeah, hi, Matt. It's good to be on. Basically, you said it there. I'm an Australian punter, as well as working in the industry with a business providing a range of products and services to both what we call retail or everyday punters, as well as a range of commercial clients. One of those is our PetSmart service, where we provide markets and comments as well as punting education material to a wide range of customers. It's a low-cost service trying to, get as many people as possible sort of interested in betting and, more knowledgeable and confident than they otherwise might be with our whole range of education material. So, over the coming weeks, we're going to look at a few feature races in Australia each Saturday, which is especially relevant as the spring comes up. And we'll also look at some betting recommendations in those races, and perhaps we'll also find, my sort of one or two best across Sydney and Melbourne for those meetings.
Let's start away with Caulfield race number 7 on Saturday. It's the Bletchingley Stakes. How would you assess a race like this, and what are your particular pointers for our New Zealand punters as to when selecting which horse to bet?
Yeah, look, it's a good race. I think the first thing is that for a small field, we're looking at some pretty good speed here, because the two speed runners, Innkeeper and Jungle Edge, are both drawn wide and they'll press forward, and it should ensure at least a genuine or maybe even an above average pace. And I really think that sets the race up for Vega Magic, whose favourite at the moment is $2.15 in your market. I've got him shorter than that at $1.85. Look, he was disappointing in the Goodwood back in May in South Australia, but I'm prepared to overlook that. He's been freshened here. He's coming for a tilt at the Everest, which arguably should have won last year, but for a poor ride. He was very good in a recent jump out where he wore the blinkers for the first time, and he's going to carry them into this race. And look, on his best form, he's a serious Group 1 weight for age sprinter, and none of the others in this race can lay claims to that. So I think he presents here at Caulfield, which has been the scene of his two peak runs from Barrier 3. He just looks to get a perfect run right behind that speed, whereas his main danger, Voodoo Lad's, going to be well back in the field. So Vega Magic comes here as the best horse. He's going to get the best run in the race and have a decent head start on his main danger. So I think you are assuming that he's going to come back somewhere near his best. But look, my price makes some allowance for that. If he did turn up at his absolute best, he'd be something like $1.20 chance in this race. So at $1.85, I think it makes some allowance for that uncertainty. And as I said, best horse going to get the best run in the race. And I think, although he's short, he's a good solid betting prospect in this race. With the main danger, as I said, Voodoo Lad, who won first up at Caulfield, returned a good figure there, but look, it's not in the same class as Vega Magic, so he's really going to be relying on Vega Magic not returning at his best. But look, I think everything sets up well here for Vega Magic, and I expect him to win.
Let's take a look at the listed Winter Challenge over 1,600 metres. It comes in from Rose Hill on Saturday, and I suppose the question that our Kiwi audiences want answered is how do you find High Flyer placed in this race, especially with the weights and the opposition that he's against?
Yeah, look, it's a very open race. We're looking at something like 7, 8, 9 horses within a length of each other here. So I think it's going to be one of those races where luck in running is certainly going to play a big role, and I expect, over the last 100 metres, it's going to be a case where there's plenty of potential winners, and it's going to be up to the horse that can just stick its head out on the line. I think High Flyer, look, he was quite good in his first Australian run behind Dreamforce, and I think that is the strongest form line leading into this race. But there's a couple of others out of that race that were perhaps slightly better runs. As I said, it is super competitive. The horse we've got on top is Invincible, the Chris Waller horse. He's been super consistent in 3 runs his preparation. He was close up behind Dreamforce last start, and that is the best form line leading into this race. And he's drawn much better here for Blake Shin, so he looks like he's going to get a nice run just off the speed, and with even luck he can weave through late and sort of stick his head out in the line. I think at the moment he's around that $6 in the market. I believe maybe a little bit shorter than that. I'm not sure there's a huge edge in that price. but he may get out on the day. But he's at this stage the horse have got on top. For a bit of value, probably Mr. Seawolf, who's also Chris Waller trained galloper here. He's been freshened up after a couple of runs at Rose Hill. He hasn't had a lot of luck in those runs. He's been slowly away and sort of struck some interference. But the big key is here that he's drawn better in barrier 4 for Jason Collett. He's got some really strong peak figures that can definitely win this race, and his absolute best actually came over this track and distance. So I think he sets up nicely here from barrier 4 to improve somewhere towards his best, and I think if he does that, then he can be right in the finish of this race, and at double figure odds, I think he represents a little bit of value in the race.
Let's head to Morfettville on Saturday. Race number 6 on the card is a feature for the sprinters, the listed Lightning Stakes. And is it a case of a 2-horse race here, Daniel, between Nature Strip and Sunlight?
I think it is. I think this is one of the clearest two-horse races we've ever seen. To be honest, both of these horses would have to totally flop or virtually get injured in order for one of the others to get home over the top of them. I think Nature Strip, I've marked him around the $1.40 mark. Look, he's a serious talent, this horse. If there is one chink in his armour, it is perhaps the 1,200 metres. We saw when he won last start that he did it easy, but he wasn't as impressive as the start before. He just seems to race a little keen in himself at this stage and not relax enough to perhaps run to his best figures up over the 1,200. And I think that's a key reason here why Darren Weir's bought into this 1,050-metre race instead of tackling the Bletchley against strong opposition at 1,200 metres. So back to the 1,050 here, he can run more freely, which will be suited to this distance. And his best 2 starts ago was a serious performance that measures right up to Group 1 class. He was a little bit below that last start, but I think back in distance here, he can rebound back to something close to his best. And if he does that, I expect him to win comfortably. The challenge is obviously Sunlight. She's a very good filly resuming, but look, her figures just aren't as strong as Nature Strip, and although she was great in the trial recently, I think all that says is that we can expect her to return well and perhaps somewhere near her best. And that does mean, look, Nature Strip's going to have to be on his game. But look, if Nature Strip's are within a couple of lengths of his best that we've seen from him so far, then I think he'll prove too strong for Sunlight. So I've got Nature Strip at $1.40, which is suggesting he's around a 71.5% chance, and Sunlight's 360, and that basically leaves a 1% chance or just less than that for any of the others to win this race.
Okay, we look forward to those races that we've previewed with you today here, Daniel, and look forward to what you're going to bring to the show over the next few weeks on each and every Friday morning here on The First Call. So thank you for your time this morning, and I look forward to catching up next week.
Cheers, Matt. Good luck to all the punters.